so welcome to our 8th episode of Soulmates and Suitcases. And Scott and I are coming to you from Pilot, I think is how you say it, in Thailand. And we're very excited for our 8th episode to have Leah Szemborski, as she can correct me if I get that incorrect, coming from Wisconsin in the United States. So we're covering the globe today, and we're excited to have her on. She is a kind of a inner healing coach, looking at trauma in our lives and how we can look at that and move forward in our lives. Because I know one of the things you said, Leah, is you are looking at that inner child or your past experiences and wanting to hopefully get the best in your life. That's one of the things that you had in your write-up. So we're forward walking choices. That's our business. And it sounds like you are helping your clients to make forward walking choices. So welcome, Leah. Tell us a little bit about
Thank you very
yourself.
much for having me. Yeah, so well, it all began back in second grade when I had my first encounter with a mental health counselor, and I was like, that's it. That's the job for me. And so I just went through school. I was a straight A student. I loved school. I graduated high school. I went on to get my bachelor's in psychology, and then I went on to get my master's in counseling. And so before you know it, I'm living the dream, right? My childhood dreams are coming true. And when I got into counseling, I told my mentor, I'm never going to do that trauma stuff. I'm just too sensitive, but that's not for me. But of course, the thing you say you're not going to do, that's what you end up doing, right? So
100%.
I just kept getting drawn to the trauma side of things. And after a while, realized, oh my gosh, this is actually my calling. I love working with trauma. I think it's important that there are effective counselors out there helping treat trauma, because I know not every counselor does that.
Mhm.
Um, and so as I was growing this area of my professional development and getting deeper and deeper into trauma focused therapy, I picked up a book that changed my life. And I have it right
Oh,
here. It's
We
we
love
called
we love
books.
books.
Broken to Whole.
Broken to
Highly
Whole.
recommend this
Oh, I
one.
like that.
Who is
Yes,
the
Broken to
author of
Whole.
that book, Broken to Whole?
It's got several authors, Sherbin, Moyer, King, Evans, Brewster, and Hunter.
Oh, okay, quite a
So it's
few.
several authors in one.
We'll
Yes.
add the link in the description along with our own books because they've got great stories in regards to that concept as well. So you read that book,
Yeah.
then what?
Yes. So the book, it wasn't like a clinical book. It was more about talking about the inner healing experience and how these different, I guess they're practitioners, helping their clients access their inner world and explore their inner world. And it all happens basically through your imagination, but how when you can get in touch with things that are in there, whether it's past resentment or trauma or unhealed emotions or limiting beliefs, then you can use your imagination to transform it into something wonderful and beautiful so that you can go on to live your best life. And I was just captivated by that idea. And then, so that is kind of where my career shifted from trauma focused therapy, which I still do, but more into this inner healing realm. And now I'm doing inner healing coaching, which is just so fun and so transformative, like you said. And it's like an adventure every day. That's how I would describe it.
Oh, sweet. So where did the name Hidden Gems come from?
I don't really know. Probably some from somewhere deep inside, right? I like the idea of like gemstones are formed under pressure, they're formed in dark conditions, but when you find them, you can shine light through them and they're just brilliant and beautiful. And I really believe that each and every one of us has a story like that, right? We all have hidden gems. It's just a matter of looking in there and finding where they are.
Love it.
Like I know for myself, I come from a trauma background and I spent most of my life in 12-step programs, which created more trauma in my life. And then when I finally found a trauma therapist, it was completely by fluke. And she helped transform my life into seeing things different. And when I could get out of the trauma-based, the 12-step based, don't get me wrong, I'm not putting it down because it got me sober. However,
Yeah.
it put a new spin on my life, and I look at it and it's so lacking and so wanting that, and it's like people cling to it just like they do to the Bible and the church. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because for some people it really works, but for some of us, it doesn't work. Or it only scratches the surface. Maybe doesn't work is the wrong word to phrase it, but
Yeah.
So how is it then, like Scott was talking? So it's like maybe you meet that person, or you meet that something happens, or you interact with someone. And so when people meet you, like where are you taking them to? So like what does it look like when they work with you?
So I work best with creative people who can use their imagination. And a lot of times clients come to me and they don't realize that they can use your imagination, but we just kind of work at it a little bit and then it kind of opens up. But there are some people who are very logical thinkers and they just really struggle, to be honest, with the work that I'm doing. So it is a very creative and a very imaginative process. And so, for example, one of the things that I might do with my clients is thinking about your soul like a house with many rooms. And some of the rooms are bright and sunny, and your family lives there, and everything's fine. And then other rooms of your house are like completely off limits, and it's cordoned off with crime scene tape. And maybe you even have hidden rooms in your house that you don't even know that they're there because it's been so long since you've been in them, skeletons in your closet, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I might say, like, think of your soul that way and make some kind of depiction of your house. Like, I got my soul house back there. I actually made one out of wood.
I like that. I like that.
And so, they find these bright and sunny rooms, they find these dark rooms, and then over the course of time and through the process, we go in and we start exploring the rooms. Like, what happens if we open this room where your memories of your dad live? What is that like for you? And if there's things in that room you don't like, then we can do some rearranging or reorganizing. Instead of anger, maybe you pull anger out of the room and you put peace in that room, right? So you're just using your imagination to transform the space. And simultaneously, as we're going through these sessions, people are actually transforming their lives. They're living with more peace. They're decreasing their anger. They're learning how to relate to themselves and to the world. And that's just one example. The soul house is one thing that we do, but there's just a lot of that type of activity that is. And what's interesting about it is sometimes when I was just getting into inner healing, I was thinking, oh, this is crazy stuff. Like, this isn't real work, right? Like, this is just fun. Not that it's all fun. Sometimes it's hard, but then as the more I pursued the inner healing realm, I realized I could trace basically all of those interventions back to an evidence-based practice in counseling. So with imagination work, there's heavy research that backs that using your imagination helps improve health, wellness, sports performance, clarity in thinking, like all these things. Another one is narrative therapy, thinking about your life as if you are a third person perspective, looking at yourself as a character in a book. So, what is that character development like? What got you to where you're at now? What are the major issues that you're facing? And then, how does the story end? And how do you go on to live your best life? And that whole process, I mean, we could talk about it in terms of the hero's journey as well. It's also the same process, but that stems from narrative therapy, which is also evidence based. So that's what I love about it. Sometimes to some people it seems a little outlandish, but it is all backed by research based interventions that really work, and they do work.
Amazing.
Previous to the work that I've done on myself, like I said, I've been going to AA meetings for about 42 years. And I know that's hard to believe because I'm only 57, but until I started doing the real inner work and a lot of the brain health work, it's like all that stuff that I used to think was really big, I can look at now and go, wow, all I had to do was go like this, and my life changed. Like, get out of the circle that you, like, my story is I think I lived in this circle like this, and I kept doing bumper cars, doing the same thing over and over and over again to get healthy. And until I got some more courage and started doing something else is when life catapulted me, really. I mean, it really even talks about it in the big book. It skyrockets you into a different dimension almost, because stuff that
Yes.
used to drive me mental was pretty peaceful, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
you get
Exactly.
it.
And
So,
yeah,
oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
what do you think of the kind of the term? Like, because what you're talking about to me is almost like brain first recovery, like what you're talking about. So, what do you think of that term? Because I've heard that term from a few other people, brain first.
I'm not familiar with that. What does that mean?
Well, it's like treat the brain, and then everything else can follow. Because this is our computer, this is our big guide, and
Well,
like
yeah.
Dr. Amen talks about it. There was a couple in Kelowna that talked about it a lot. And because it's like coming to if I come to your session all jacked up on what do you call it? Energy drinks. That's not really beneficial to either of us. Like we're selling each other out. But if I come
Mm.
with a nutritional diet, I'm going to be able to, your healing is going to be able to help heal me even more, or your teachings.
And it can work either way. Like when you spoke about the imagination, it reminded me of because we were talking about books, the Michael Singer's
Oh, yeah.
Untethered Soul. So understanding that what we think, what we imagine, like you talked about, is so important. And I think maybe that's the connection for the brain health as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
What our thoughts are all about, right?
Like
Yeah, I mean, I
I,
could talk about that from a,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
no,
From a couple different perspectives. So, one way or one thing that we talk about a lot in inner healing is the goal is integration, to be a whole unified person who lives with integrity. But throughout life, we experience fragmentation or dissociation. And there are four ways that we can dissociate. And one is intellectually. Some clients come and they tell me that they have no memories of their childhood. And that's usually not true. When we start poking around and I'm like, tell me about your kindergarten teacher, tell me about your childhood home, all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't thought of that in forever. Right. And a lot of times it's our limiting beliefs. I think maybe this is where what you were talking about, Scott, that like if I believe I can't do it, then I can't do it.
yeah,
If I believe I can do it, then I can do it. And so you have
yeah.
to get your thinking clear. Absolutely. And another way that we dissociate is from our emotions. Sometimes people can tell me all about their trauma, like it's what they had for dinner last night, because they've completely disconnected from the emotional aspect of it. So when I slow them down in their story and I'm like, wait, tell me what you were thinking in that moment. Tell me what you were feeling about that. What was the look on your dad's face? And they start thinking about these little details that they hadn't rehearsed. And all of a sudden, like the emotions hit them like, ugh. And so, an important thing with inner healing is that it has to be a gradual pace. It can only be what the client is ready for at any given moment. So, if we start talking about something and all of a sudden the emotions hit them, I'm checking in. I'm like, hey, I noticed a reaction there. How are you doing? Are you okay to keep going, or should we take a break and maybe stop for today? So, that gradual process of emotional integration is really important so we don't overwhelm the client. And then the bodily dissociation that some people report out of body experiences and extreme trauma. But even if you're just focused on a project and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom, and you didn't realize it because you were so in your intellect, that's a form of bodily dissociation. We all do that from time to time. But some people are so disconnected from their body, they can't really even hardly tell if they're hungry or if they're cold. They certainly aren't discerning like the emotion that they're experiencing because they're just disconnected from that. So helping people to feel safe in their body and have the right perspective of their body. That, yeah, our bodies are, they're not perfect. They don't look always the right way. They break down sometimes. They cause us pain. But ultimately, they're wonderful machines that are so complex and they're working so hard for us every day. And so to try to cultivate an appreciation in my clients for their body rather than a sense of shame, which a lot of people have. And then the last way that we dissociate is the will, what you want, what you need, and the ability to articulate that to other people. Some people have become so disconnected from their will because they've been in survival mode for so long, they have no idea what they actually want or need or who they are. Or if a person's been invalidated for who they are, like if a kid really loves chess and the dad was like, no kid of mine is going to play chess and be a nerd, you're going to play basketball, right? And the kid is like, all right, I guess I'm playing basketball. And so they disconnect from their true self. And then again, a lot of times that disconnection causes shame, like who I really am isn't good enough. So those are the 4 ways we dissociate. And so when I'm doing inner healing activities with clients, I'm paying attention to, is this registering on an intellectual level, an emotional level, a bodily level, and are they really connected to how they're doing and what they need right now? And so sometimes clients will kind of like try to go to their comfort zone. Like if I ask them, how do you feel about that? They'll say, well, I thought he was being a jerk. Like, no, that's a thought. I really want to know how you feel. And sometimes I have to work with the clients to help them to make that connection because they don't know how they feel. So definitely, I don't know if it's necessarily brain first, but definitely the brain is a big part of that healing.
So I got another question. I heard you mentioned fight or flight mode. Can you paint, because there's people out there that don't have a clue. Like I lived for years in fight or flight mode and I didn't know I was there. So can you paint a good picture of what, so somebody might recognize that if they're stuck in fight or flight mode?
Absolutely. This is almost always my first session of counseling with the client is to teach them about fight or flight. So basically your fight or flight is called the sympathetic nervous system. It's a chemical reaction in your body that activates to keep you safe in dangerous situations. So I like to tell the story of the bear in the woods, right? You're hiking on a perfectly peaceful day. All of a sudden this bear steps out in the path in front of you. Your fight or flight goes from 0 to 10 in an instant. And it changes your entire body from head to toe, starting with your brain. Critical thinking shuts off and your amygdala activates, which is the alarm bell. So all you're thinking is, bear. You're not thinking, oh, I read about bears in my survival guide. What page was that on again? That part of your brain is completely disconnected. And so in real life situations, when people are experiencing anxiety or stress, they tend to have racing thoughts about whatever's bothering them, which means they have trouble concentrating or remembering details from what they're supposed to be doing. The next thing that happens is your pupils dilate and your hearing gets really acute because you're scanning your environment for more threat. There's one bear. Is there another? Every little sound, every little movement you're keyed into, which again, in real life situations, because of that sensory acuity, lights are too bright, noises are too loud, situations feel overwhelming, you're hyper vigilant, and people like they can't cope with that level of stimulation, and so they shut down or whatever they need to do to get through that because it feels just too much. Another thing that happens is your breathing becomes quick and shallow, your heart rate increases, and your muscles tense and they pull in to protect your core because your body's going into high energy, negative emotion. It's getting you ready for action. Either you're going to punch the bear in the face if you're a fight person, or you're going to run the heck out of there if you're a flight person. But either way, your body's getting ready to go. And so a lot of people, when they're in fight or flight mode, they notice that agitation, that anxiety, that jitteriness. They're tapping their pencils, they're looking around because they have all that adrenaline pent up. It's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that happens is that your digestion shuts down because your body's diverting resources. So a lot of times when people experience acute trauma, they'll just lose their appetite completely. Or because your survival centers are activated in your brain, people might binge eat. But either way, your digestion is slower, so the food sits in there longer. It causes tummy aches, bloating, constipation, stomach aches. So when I ask my client, do you experience any of those things? Like 90% of them are like, yes, I have trouble with my tummy. It's a sign of high fight or flight activation. So a lot of people, to your point, Scott, they've been living in this mode so long, they don't even realize that it's supposed to be like, maybe once a week that you're experiencing this, not all the time. They're just living in that mode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I just had a week ago, I had an appointment with my therapist coach, and I was just in an accident on my motorcycle doing this honk song loop, and I didn't panic. I didn't freak. I was calm through the whole thing. Like I didn't hurt myself and nobody got hurt. And I'm like, I go to her, what's wrong with me? And she's like, that's perfectly normal, Scott. You weren't in, like after the accident, you weren't in danger. So your body, she goes, so you're getting healthy.
Yes.
She goes, that's like, and I was like, really? She's like, yeah, because in my head, I'm a freak because I didn't get all antsy and didn't like what's wrong with me? It didn't bother me like it bothers other people. And
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you're more calm.
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
so it
That's
was kind of
great.
neat.
Yeah. So
So
session
this
one,
journey of
I'm
healing,
teaching clients. What's
this
that?
journey of healing for people that are listening is better than any drug or any outside thing that you can do because it's just like I don't know, it's amazing. And I
It
appreciate
is.
ladies and people that are healthcare people because it's all about mental health today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
session one, I'm teaching people about fight or flight. I'm giving them tools to calm that down. So, simple things like slowing your breathing, relaxing your muscles, opening your chest wide, reminding yourself that this is difficult, but it's not dangerous. Right now, I am safe. And also helping them to, strengthen that mind-body connection so that when they notice that fight or flight activation, they know what that means. Like, oh, I don't feel safe right now. What's going on? And to be able to uh, interpret their body's cues, which is the mind body connection is so important in inner healing. We're hearing a lot about like somatic body work and trauma focused somatic work, and for good reason. I mean, it's such an important part of inner healing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like Scott was saying, yeah, that whole understanding that there is this these new spaces of growth that I think until you start on the journey, you never knew they could happen.
Right.
I like
Yeah.
Exactly.
like you can say that it's like a straight line. I'm going to this goal, but like for me, my visual, just like using your imagination, my visual is like this platform of like these rocks that are here but and over there, but they keep going up in some way. It's never this linear feeling, but yeah, it's really cool when you start I think for us surrounding yourself with people who kind of have that growth mindset as well, and we're very fortunate that
Yeah.
we get to be together and have that every day and wake up with that, go to bed with that sort of thing. Um, so for those people who like what's going through the mind of someone before they maybe search you out? Like what is are they in a crisis? Are they in a what sort of space are they in to reach out to you?
So a lot of times it is something situational that's just really stressful, and that's why they decide like I need some help with this. And we certainly do address what is going on right now because a lot of times people need those coping skills, right? They need to know how to de escalate their fight or flight. They need to know how to redirect their thinking to what's true and helpful. But then after the situation kind of stabilizes, then I say, well, you were reacting to the situation at hand, but it seems like this is tied to stuff from your past too. What do you think about that? And they're like, yeah, you're right. Well, and then I'll say, do you want to tackle that? And at this point, we've built some rapport and they're like, yeah, let's do it,
Yeah.
but it's usually the situation that brings them in. It's not, oh, I think I want to just be a better me,
Yeah. Yes, you've reached. We were both certified as crisis and recovery coaches, so it's like you've kind of reached that fork in the road, and it's like, am I going to stay stuck, or maybe I'm going to choose this way? And you're this way. You're the option, the other option that you can choose to,
Yeah.
as I like to say, to unravel yourself, to peel off the layers and just kind of
Yes.
rediscover your innards, your inner amazingness. So we have a few minutes left. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us that in regards to maybe the services that you offer, the contact, what's your way people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, so right now, people can sign up with me for individual inner healing sessions. I like to work with people one-on-one. I am in the last stages of building my inner healing coaching program, which is a 12 week program that you can enroll at the beginning. And there's online resources, there's a video and a workbook with each module. And then we have group sessions every week where we meet and talk about our work for all the people who are in the group. And so I'm hoping to launch that in April. I'm just finishing up the last touches on the content. And then I also have other resources on my website as well. I have some workbooks that you can buy, but I also have free resources as well. So I encourage everybody watching to go to my website and get those free resources because why not, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And for those people that are listening on Spotify, can you just tell us what your website is?
Yes, my website is Hidden Gems Consulting LLC.com. Hidden Gems Consulting LLC.com.
And one more
Perfect.
little thing. What does hidden gems mean to you? You told us earlier.
Yeah, so that is like the process of discovering those jewels within, right? Like digging through the dirt to find the diamond in the rough. And I just think that's a beautiful metaphor for what inner healing is.
I love it.
Awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love it as well. And we'll post the books that you mentioned. And if you're anyone out there is interested in our stories as well, you can find us at forwardwalkingchoices.com. And you can see we've just updated our website too. It's always a learning process, isn't it, Leah? All these
Yes,
things update and to work
absolutely.
on. It's life is a learning journey, that's for sure. And yeah, we can check it out more on our website and Leah's website as well. And we'd like to thank you for our 8th episode, Leah,
Thanks,
for
Leah.
joining us as a guest. Very informative today. We truly appreciate it. As we like to say from Thailand.
Oh,
Swati Ka.
Nah,
Oh, cup and
chapun
crack.
ka. That's what we say.